Hope everyone's doing outstanding Monday, December 22nd, 3:33 on this fine afternoon. Really quick rant. Talk about the market. Some of the names I'm looking at go from there. S&P pretty much right at the highs right now. SPY's at 685, up 0.6%. Nasdaq's up about a third of a percent. Small caps leading the charge, up over 1%. No news, no catalyst today. The AI bubble is instead of it bursting, it continues to blow up or get more air, however you want to describe it. Joking aside, Google this morning, I guess news partner, I forget what the name of the company is. Uh, Nope, don't have it here. But anyway, that kind of added fuel to the AI story, right? I mean, energy is one of the big components of what's going on in space. I think energy is important regardless of what goes on with AI, but that seems to be, I wouldn't even say it's the catalyst today, but the headline that, I guess rationalizes the move up in tech. But, I mentioned it, tomorrow's the start of the supposed Santa Claus rally timeframe, right? The 5 days into the end of the year, the last five of the year, and then the first two of 2026, down 1.7% for that time frame last year. We'll see what this year brings. You almost wish save some of the green for tomorrow, but to me, as we get towards the end of the year, and especially this weekend and half days, half day Wednesday, the holiday. Analyst changes kind of wind down, so you won't see much in the way of analysts. And then tomorrow we get the third quarter GDP number. So outside of that, it's gonna be quiet, right? So all that does is make the chop. I wouldn't even say that the chop, but the moves on the market. It almost feels like a quiet session, like almost boring, right? And those are the type of sessions where you get killed on the premium. So I'm not gonna be crazy in regards to being aggressive. Not that I am, but this is probably more the time frame where you don't want to be too aggressive. And then obviously, if I see opportunities, I'll take advantage. But take a look at the SPY 686. I talked about being possible resistance. We're at 685 here. And then if somehow we get some crazy sell-off tomorrow or the half day on Wednesday, 679 on the SPY. Again, no, there's not much in the way of news events. So I don't even know, what data, the third quarter GDP, would it be, like a negative read? I don't even know if that would cause the market to sell off. Heck, you would almost guarantee a rate cut, right? In the January's Fed meeting. Joking aside, but that's overall market. So just quick on individual names. First, SanDisk. So I had on the watch list this morning. Part of the plan was to lock, and I already locked a lot of them in on Friday, but to lock more in, and then possibly look for some strikes to next week. So SanDisk opens around, I think it was 248 or so, all the way up to 252. I'm trying to scramble to see what I can get on my calls. I thought there would be 325, 350. It wasn't the case. The spread was wide. They were 250. I tried to get some out at 250, couldn't get some out there. So dropped them down to 210, which is kind of like where I got some of out on Friday. And just, for two reasons. Obviously, you want to lock some more profits in because you never know what's going to happen after you open. And then number two, to be able to use some of that to add strikes into next week. And then, SanDisk, it looked like it was struggling to break out. I thought a little consolidation, it was going to have continue consolidation and have continuation. It did the reverse. Couldn't find any support, and boom, right after I closed them out, it dropped to 245 range. I'm like, do I add more? Then it's 240, and then I'm like, let me just wait for the dust to settle, and it kept going. By 10:30, it broke under 230 for a little while. It was churning around 230, 228 into the afternoon, into the after the lunch hour, and then started to bounce. I'm not gonna sit here and try and time this. My, two reasons. I still have some of the 275s, the last couple, and then who knows what the move this morning was? It just people taking profits? You also take a look at the names in the space, the Seagate and the Western Digitals. Those were down 5% when SanDisk was still in the green. So I don't know if it was just sympathy move with those names, but then on the flip side, you see Micron was in the green. So I still think there's a possibility this trades up into the 280, 300 range. So I'll continue to trade that on that premise. My 275s. Yeah. Let's see here. So 40 by 80. All right. So that's kind of the plan there in SanDisk. If I see other opportunities, I'll certainly look maybe as we get towards Friday, as premiums come down. Then energy names are going. You see First Solar running and Solar Edge, which tried to trade last week and the week before. For calls to the upside on the bounce, which I think eventually it's going to bounce into the 40s and beyond. Start to head higher. I'm like, do I add weeklies again on Solar Edge? And then I go out and I look and I'm like, the January 40s look interesting on a risk reward basis. I got those all the way up to near 32 bucks. Pull back, it's sitting here about 31 and change. Uh, just if you just go look at the analysts, you could see it's a divisive name, high short interest. I think was it Friday? Maybe it was Thursday. Citigroup has a sell rating. Goldman Sachs is neutral. Then you have other Morgan Stanley just upgraded them. So I still think, especially with the backdrop of what's going on in energy, that it's gonna squeeze again. So inexpensive calls, play for upside. When I get a chance to lock some in to cover costs, I will. And then Kodak, right? And it had those Kodak calls. What it was 2 weeks ago. I got those December 10s, 100% or so on those strikes. And then I didn't want to miss out on continuation if it broke over 10 bucks. So I got the January strikes. And then boom, it sells off all the way down to eight. I think it was $8 on Thursday or under $8. And then bounce a little bit on Friday and then continuation today. I don't want to be in a spot where it breaks over 10. And, I think I was 10, 11, 12. I think that's the kind of move it could have. So January 10s look inexpensive on a risk war basis. So I got those. I still have the 1250s and I'll ride. And, you have a lot of these small cap names that catch fire and get some, especially the old archaic names, the Kodak, right? And SanDisk. I mean, bring me back to the 1990s. At some point, I think this has a breakout. And you kind of look at the chart. It's had these swings to the upside, pullback, profit taking, and then higher highs, higher lows, and we just got through the higher low portion of this. Hopefully, back to a new higher high, and that'll bring it to the double digits. So that was the thought process there on Kodak. So I got those strikes, and I'll continue to hold those. TripAdvisor over 14 bucks, not doing much here. It's up 1.3%. I'm looking for more strikes here, but I'll continue to be patient there. And then Serve Robotics, as SanDisk was, well, as I'm locking in the profits on SanDisk, I was actually looking to get more serve calls, and I'm looking maybe somewhere in March or what have you. But I've seen it in the past, and if you trade serve this year, it has gap and goes and then sells off, right? So I didn't want to be in a spot where I chase it after the open and only to see better opportunities to add strikes later in the day. Thankfully, I would say thankfully, the stock really hasn't pulled back from highs. Hit 1122 at 11 o'clock, and then has been chopping around ever since. Maybe tomorrow I'll add some strikes or Wednesday. But if you've traded this, it has had history of these huge moves, a couple of day sessions, right? I'm trying to think back in August, back in October, it had it even just at the end of November, where it goes from 10 to 13 bucks in a matter of 2 or 3 days, and the calls go up a couple 100%. So it's going to happen again. I'm in. So when it does happen, I'll locking in some of the calls. But at the same token, I want to be able to add some more strikes. So I'll continue to be patient there. Then other names I'm looking at, I mean, RH, right? I mean, I was talking about last week. I had those strikes, waiting for it to break out. I think it tests 200 bucks. I was looking at the 190s earlier, but I didn't want to be too aggressive on getting some names because this also is kind of like a week where you get calls, and then tomorrow we can have like a 0.5% pull for no reason, no headline, and calls are going to get demolished. So I don't want to have a miserable Tuesday. So maybe tomorrow I'll look to revisit and add some strikes there. I'm trying to think. Obviously, the cannabis names taken on the chin today. CGC is down about 10% here. IIPR. I was going to need a huge move in the coming days. The good thing about the marijuana names, they're volatile. So it won't take much to get those back on track. But I'm certainly not going to look for any more positions until they find some footing. Trip. Oh, and Oracle, right? So I kind of put Oracle calls, and I'm trying to put some reference points in the chat room when I see some names that I kind of want to at least give myself I would say the credit. But when I'm looking at a name to add some calls on, in the moment, when you look at the strikes and you look at the risk reward, you say, wow, this might look interesting, but you pass for whatever reason is. And Oracle on Friday, I thought maybe the market has a gap down on Monday, so I didn't want to get the strikes. But I put those 210s up there. They were like 67 cents or whatever. And then you look today, Oracle's up 3%. Those 210s are in the red. So that's how option trading is hard to begin with, right? So the time element is one of the more key components. So you could be right on the direction, have a huge move, be in the calls, the stock's up 3%, and your call position's down. Yeah, the 210s, despite the move up, are down 20% today. And that's if you time the top. So Friday at the close, it's down 20% from Friday's close. So stock being up 3%, just goes to show you how hard trading options can be sometimes. So Still looking at Oracle here. I think it trades and bounces into the to 210, 215 level in the coming days, but certainly not going to just add some strikes here until I feel a little more confident or have some conviction. And I'm trying to think of some of the other names. I think that's it today. Today's like quantum day, right? All these quantum names running. Um, Altamune's running today. Anyway, all right. Let's have a great day, folks. I'll be back. Rock and roll.